Well, hi, and welcome to another edition of Minnesota Camper. I am John from Hilltop Camper and RV. This is our little internet show where we talk about Minnesota camping for Minnesota campers. And one of those things that you've got to think about, of course, when you're going to maybe buy an RV or a camper of any kind, you've got to think about potentially financing or at least how to pay for it, right? So we want to educate you today a little bit on the different kind of options that you have and how you need to be prepared to pay for it. And to do that from our Alexandria store, we bring in Sean Boots. He is our business manager. Hello there, Sean. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great.
Great. Glad to have you, Sean. And some folks are probably going, yeah, there's Sean right there. He's got to help me out when I was there in Alexandria. We, of course, have stores in Alexandria, also Fridley, Brainerd, and Rochester. And Sean, we want to talk about the different options that we have when people come into your office and they're ready to get that camper of their dreams. Got to pay for this thing. And there are several different options and ways to do that. And I'm going to start with a cash buyer. We're going to talk about financing in just a second and different ways to do that. But having been on the sales floor myself, I feel like it's almost 50% of an RV customer wants to or expects to pay with cash. What can you tell me about paying with cash? And I don't know if it's any different than kind of like a car experience with paying with cash, or just tell me about kind of the advantages and disadvantages of that.
Well, it's very similar kind of to the car business, and I was in the car business for over 30 years, so I'm
Wow.
familiar with that too. Um, a lot of times, what you'll find in the car business is they'll offer an extra rebate for you to finance, at least for a certain period of time. And we do the same thing here, where you can get a rebate of anywhere from like $2,000 all the way up to $4,000. So a lot of times it's a lot more beneficial for somebody to, leave that money in the bank and your money continue to make your money, and then take advantage of that rebate. And then later on, if you want to pay it off early, you're more than welcome to do that. All the loans that we write are all simple interest, so there's no penalties to pay them off early or anything like that.
So many people would find that to be counterintuitive, though. People sometimes will walk in the door and they'll be like, well, I got cash. And it's actually the opposite, you're saying. You actually get a deal if you finance. What's the logic behind that?
Um, Basically, we like to just offer a little bit of extra incentive to the customer that way, because obviously I think everybody knows that when I write a loan, the bank pays us money to give them that business. So basically what we're doing is we're passing that money on to the customer as additional benefit to them.
With those kind of incentives, is there anybody out there that cash just makes perfect sense?
There is. What I've found in my experience is sometimes you'll have somebody that say has been retired for 15 years and hasn't taken out a loan in over 30 years. So sometimes when you go to try to pull credit on them, they don't have any credit because they haven't borrowed before. So usually in those cases, they have to try to find a cosigner, and that's hard to explain to somebody that's got the money in the bank and that can pay for it, asking them to go get a cosigner to try to get a loan. So I do run into that once in a while.
Well, there's a guy out there in the financial advice world that I'm sure a lot of our customers are familiar with it. He had a great line one time. He said, didn't have a credit score because he'd never borrowed any money for any period of time. He said, I can't rent an apartment, but I can buy the whole complex. So I thought that was kind of funny, and that had to be pretty cool feeling to be able to do that. Let's talk about the financing. Most of our customers are going to finance, even if they are not going to be walking in the door interested in financing. Many times we will find that they take advantage of that finance discount. So the first thing they want to know is, what is the interest rate? Can you explain how interest rate, at least at Hilltop, I don't know, and you would know better than I would if it works this way all across the board, but when you walk in the door, your interest rate isn't set quite yet, right?
No, it is not. There's a lot of factors that go into interest rates. Obviously, the newer the unit is, the better the rate is going to be. Typically on an older unit, where people can run into problems with repairs, things like that, that will affect the interest rate just because there's more risk with the banks. Um, the amount of money down will affect that also. Because sometimes you get people that are trading a unit in and they owe more than what it's worth. So sometimes that can affect the interest rate. Their past credit history affects that interest rate. So there's a lot of factors that go into that.
So it's really all dependent on your own particular situation. When you are looking at the different kinds of terms for financing, if you compare it, say, to going to your own credit union, there are maybe some different rules sometimes for what an RV dealership is able to do with the terms as opposed to what a credit union or a bank is able to do. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, what I have found for the most part, and this isn't 100% accurate, but for the most part, a lot of the local banks, um, when it comes to borrowing on anything, they'll go like a max term of like 84 months. So that would be about 7 years. Um, Depending upon the amount of money that you're going to finance, and, just for example, like on a brand new $100,000 fifth wheel, I can finance that here all the way out to 240 months, which is 20 years. So there's a big difference in payment. So, but typically what I do is I like to kind of sit down and kind of counsel the customer a little bit as what is your budget? What kind of payment goal are you trying to achieve? And then kind of try to work it in that way and get what works best for the customer.
And customers would probably get a little nervous too, going, well, that's great, I get this discount, but if I don't know my rate, are they just going to jack me up? How do RV dealerships compare to the credit unions and the banks out there, especially if people have been, we hear from a lot of people I've been with my credit union for 30 years kind of thing, right?
Yeah. A lot of times we can actually beat a lot of the credit unions and the local banks. And this kind of goes for any dealership, car dealers too. The reason being is we've got a little bit more buying power with these banks just because of the amount of dollars that we do get financed through them in a month. And you think about it, like, if we sell 20 campers in a month, I mean, we're probably talking $1.5 to $2 million worth of loans a month. So when we're sending these banks that kind of money, they do give us discounts where, a lot of your local banks and credit unions don't have that advantage.
When you need other things done with the camper, when you need accessories, maybe you're putting on a backup camera that's going to run you $500 to $750, $800. Weight distribution hitches are $1,000. Are these
Yep.
things that you can roll in?
Yes. Yep. We do it all the time. Yep. If any of your accessories, we just add it on right to the loan and finance it. And so a lot of times people come in, when they agree to buy the camper, they'll put $1,000 deposit down. And a lot of times I've financed many campers with just that $1,000 down payment and added their accessories in there also.
What if somebody really likes the camper and they want to do that $1,000 deposit at Hilltop or wherever they may be buying it? Let's get that deposit. The point is, get the camper in your name so nobody else can take it from you, right? Now it's time to fill out the credit application, see what that number is going to be. Let's say they like the camper, they get the number, and they don't like it. Now what?
What we do here is if all of a sudden, if it's, because we'll present the numbers to the customer first, just to make sure that, hey, is this it within your budget range? And they say yes.
Mm-hmm.
If all of a sudden the bank comes back and the terms aren't as favorable as what we showed the customer at the time of their deposit, then we'll refund the deposit if the terms don't work for them.
All right, so people have gotten some of this knowledge from you, and they're ready to finance their camper. They come into your office. They're walking through the door today, and they if they find the right thing, they're going to buy it. What do they need to bring? What do they need to know about their situation? How can they be prepared to finish the deal with you here today?
What I always tell people is make sure that you bring your driver's license with you and a copy of your current auto insurance card or camper insurance card. Either one works. If you're concerned about hey, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get financed or not just because I've had some problems with my credit in the past. If you are worried about that, then just make sure that you bring a current pay stub with you to show proof of income to the bank, and then bring a utility bill to show proof of your residence.
And as you're putting the whole package together too, I know at Hilltop, we have the no additional fees, and this is not to call out any other dealers, but that final price tag looks different at different places, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah, there's a lot of variances there, where they charge you for delivery setup fees, things like that they kind of hit you with at the time of doing paperwork. We don't do any of that. The only fees that you pay here is your sales tax, your license, and then a $275 documentation fee, and
What
that's
is a
it.
documentation fee?
Basically what that is, it's a fee that we charge everybody. And so basically what it is if there's any hiccups in the titling process, as far as from previous owners, say a VIN number was issued wrong on a title, or address corrections, anything like that, or if a title were to happen to get lost in the process before we bring it, any of the fees that are charged, we as a dealership take care of all that. So once you leave this office, you're not liable for any titling fees or anything like that if there's anything that's messed up.
All right. Thank you, Sean. We've got more to talk to you about on another occasion because you're out there all winter long at the campground, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Uh-huh. That's very exciting. We'll have to get to that on another day. Thank you, Sean. We appreciate it.
You bet. Thank
All right.
you.
That is Sean Boots. He is at our Alexandria store for Hilltop Camper and RV. You certainly can go see him. Of course, we're in Rochester, Brainerd, Fridley as well. Hilltopcamper.com is where you go to check out the complete selection. We've got parts stores there. We've got some of the best folks in service you'll ever find in the RV business too. We just love serving here at Hilltop Camper and RV, where the place has been owned by the same family for 74 years, if you can believe that. That's a great family. We love working for them. Hey, this is Minnesota Camper. This is a camping show for Minnesota campers about Minnesota camping. We'd love to get your ideas and things to tackle on this show. So please reach out to us and tell us what you want to see on here. Thanks for joining us. Well, thank you for watching Minnesota Camper. We hope you like it. We hope you participate in it because this is about Minnesota camping for Minnesota campers. We know there's a ton of stuff on the internet about camping. There's not much out there about Minnesota campers and Minnesota camping. So we're going to do it here. We want you to participate. We want your ideas. It doesn't have to be just about campers that we have at Hilltop Camper and RV. It could be about campfires. It could be about campgrounds. It could be about things to do in different towns that are great for camping at, camp food, parts, maintenance, whatever the case may be. We want to know what you want to hear about. We'd love to tackle those topics. And if you have a really cool experience out camping, maybe you can tell us about that too. Or maybe it's a really cool camper. That'd be kind of fun too. Anyway, we'd love to hear from you here at Minnesota Camper. Thanks for watching.